What's up YouTube, Saf here on Super Saf TV, and in this video I'm going to be comparing the specs and features of the Google Nexus 6 to the iPhone 6 Plus. So we've got a battle here of Android versus Apple once again. We've got the flagships here, both phablet devices on the larger side. So what are the key differences between these two? Well, do hit that thumbs up button and let's find out in this head-to-head spec comparison. Now initially starting off with the size difference, the Nexus 6 does come in larger compared to the iPhone 6 Plus. Roughly about 1.2mm in terms of the height, so not so much taller, but it is 5.2mm larger in terms of the width, and it's also 3mm thicker, so quite a large device. Now the iPhone 6 Plus is already considered quite a large device as it is, but the Nexus 6 is a little bit larger than that, so this is definitely something to bear in mind. It is thicker as well, so it's 3mm thicker. Now the iPhone 6 Plus is definitely quite a thin device. It's 7.1mm thin, especially for this size device, so it's expected that the Nexus 6 is going to be a little bit thicker, but 3mm thicker, so something else to bear in mind. Now this does partly come down to the larger screen size. The Nexus 6 has almost a 6-inch screen, so that's 5.96 inches, whereas the iPhone 6 Plus has a 5.5-inch screen. So the Nexus 6 has one of the largest screen sizes in the phablet category. The Note 4 has a 5.7-inch screen, and the iPhone 6 Plus, you've got a 5.5-inch screen here. So the Nexus 6 definitely pushing the boundaries there in terms of phablets. This is going to be something interesting to see because it is definitely quite large. We've got a difference here in terms of the resolution as well. The iPhone 6 Plus, you've got a full 1080p resolution, so that's 1920 by 1080, and it works out to roughly about 401 ppi pixel density. The Nexus 6, you've got a Quad HD display, so that's a 2560 by 1440, so you've got a high resolution on here, and it's roughly about 493 ppi pixel density. So the resolution definitely goes to the Nexus 6. You're going to be having that much more sharpness in terms of your text and images and things, but the iPhone 6 Plus is not bad in any way. I don't think you're going to be noticing a huge deal of difference in terms of resolution unless you go looking. Now moving on to the weight, the Nexus 6 does come in 12 grams heavier compared to the iPhone 6 Plus. Not a huge deal here, and this does partly come down to the build. The iPhone 6 Plus has a full metal build, so this is an aluminium unibody or aluminum unibody depending on where you're from. So it's definitely quite a premium build. I'm not a huge fan of the antenna lines, the antenna bands at the back. There has been that whole bend gate issue which has been blown a little bit out of proportion, but generally speaking it is definitely a nice build. Now with the Nexus 6, it's pretty much a large Moto X, the 2014 edition, so you've got a metal frame with a plastic back, so it still is quite a premium build. You've got a nice curved back which is going to feel quite nice in the hand and should help towards that larger size. I would say both of these do have a premium build. It is going to come down to your personal preference. Now looking at the internals, the iPhone 6 Plus has a dual-core 1.4 GHz processor, and this is the Apple A8 64-bit chip. It's also got the M8 Motion coprocessor on there. The Nexus 6 is going to come with the Snapdragon 805, which is 2.7 GHz quad-core, and the Adreno 420 GPU. So these are the same internals as the Samsung Galaxy Note 4, so some of the best out there. Now spec for spec, the iPhone 6 Plus does seem quite low, but because of software optimization and things, we are going to have to put these side by side in terms of actual day-to-day performance. I'm pretty sure that you're not going to have any problems with either of these. They are both really good in terms of performance, and that's going to be no doubt. Now in terms of the RAM, the iPhone 6 Plus comes with just 1GB of RAM. The Nexus 6 comes with 3GB of RAM, so you've definitely got an advantage here in terms of multitasking and things. The Nexus 6 has an edge here with that 3GB of RAM, so you've got 3 times as much RAM here on the Nexus 6. Now the different storage versions available, the iPhone 6 Plus, you've got 16, 64 and 128GB versions at different prices, but those are the versions available, not expandable. The Nexus 6 is going to come in either the 32 or the 64GB versions, so they've upped the storage versions on here. With the Nexus 5 you had the 16 and 32, but now they've gone from 32 to 64. You've got an additional option here on the iPhone 6 Plus, but it does start at a lower base version. The Nexus 6 is also not expandable as the other Nexus devices haven't been recently. Now moving on to the cameras, the iPhone 6 Plus has an 8MP rear-facing camera with optical image stabilization. It's an absolutely great camera. You can see lots of camera tests of the iPhone 6 Plus on the channel. I'll be linking a few videos in the description below. The Nexus 6 has a 13 megapixel rear-facing camera, which also has optical image stabilization. Now both of these also have a dual LED flash. On the iPhone 6 Plus, you've got the same one as on the iPhone 6 and on the iPhone 5S, which is the True Tone flash. And on the Nexus 6, you've got a ring flash, so it's a dual LED ring flash. So this is something quite different. We are going to have to put these side by side to see the difference in results. The Nexus 6 does have the edge of slightly higher resolution here with the 13 megapixel camera. In terms of video, the iPhone 6 Plus can film at up to 1080p at 60 frames a second. You've also got 720p at 240 frames a second. Now, I'm a big fan of the slow motion on the iPhones. You can see lots of tests on the channel for that as well, and you can get some really nice results. On the Nexus 6, you can however film up to 4K, so that's 2160p at 30 frames a second, which is absolutely great on a smartphone having that resolution. And in terms of slow motion, they've not mentioned anything. I'm not sure if we're going to be having any form of slow motion here on the Nexus 6. It's definitely not going to be up to 240 frames a second as we have on the iPhone 6 Plus. In terms of the front-facing cameras, the iPhone 6 Plus has a 1.2 megapixel front-facing camera capable of filming 720p HD. The Nexus 6 has a 2 megapixel front-facing camera capable of filming full 1080p HD. Now we are going to have to put these side by side to see the differences, because the iPhone 6 Plus, although it's got a low resolution, it does have a very good front-facing camera. Now I've put it up against lots of other devices, and I've noticed that it does provide quite sharp results even though it's got that low resolution, and it also performs quite well in low light. So we are going to have to see this hands-on when we get the Nexus 6 in-house. Now the operating system, this is Android versus iOS. So you've got iOS 8, the latest version on the iPhone 6 Plus, and on the Nexus 6 it's going to come with Android version 5, which is Lollipop. So this is the latest version. Now the big advantage that you've got on both of these devices is that you're going to be getting updates directly from the manufacturers, so directly from Apple and directly from Google. You're not going to have to wait around for any third parties like you have to do with lots of other devices such as Samsung, HTC and Sony. So this is a big advantage that both of these devices have. In terms of Android versus iOS, I'm not going to go into a battle here. This will come down to your personal preference. Now quickly touching on some more differences, the iPhone 6 Plus uses a Lightning connector. So this is proprietary and it's from Apple, so it is a little bit more expensive compared to the micro USB connector that you're going to be getting on the Nexus 6. So this is not reversible, but it's going to be cheaper and it's more universal. The Nexus 6 also comes with dual front-facing speakers, so this is going to give you much more immersive sound compared to the iPhone 6 Plus, which has a bottom-facing speaker. You've just got a speaker here on the bottom, which you can also cover as well, so it's not too great. It does provide some decent sound, but it's not going to be as good as the Nexus 6, which has the dual front-facing speakers. One thing that the iPhone 6 Plus does have, which the Nexus 6 doesn't, is Touch ID. So that's the fingerprint scanner on the home button. This works really well. You can use it to unlock your device and also make payments on iTunes. Apple Pay is also coming soon, so you're going to be able to authorize payments with lots of different retailers, which is going to be absolutely great. And Touch ID is by far the best fingerprint ID technology on any smartphone out there right now. Now moving on to the batteries, the iPhone 6 Plus has a 2915 mAh battery. It's not removable, but it works absolutely great. I've managed to get over a full day of usage on the iPhone 6 Plus, even with heavy use. Now with the Nexus 6, you've got a large battery. You've got a 3220 mAh battery, and this is also not removable, so we are going to have to put these side by side. You've got a slightly larger battery here on the Nexus 6, but one advantage that you have on the Nexus 6 is turbocharging. Now they've not said too much about this, but what they have said is that in 15 minutes of a charge you are going to be able to get up to 6 hours of usage on the Nexus 6. Now they've not specified what kind of usage this is, whether it's calls or video or how much on-screen time this involves, but 15 minutes charge giving you that sort of usage is absolutely great. We are going to have to test this out hands-on. Now finally, looking at the price, the iPhone 6 Plus, so this is for the base 16 gig model, you're looking at £619 here in the UK or $749 in the US. So this is off contract, just to see the value of the device. The Nexus 6, they've not confirmed pricing as yet. It's not going to be as low as the Nexus 5. I would say you're going to be looking at, for the base 32 gig model, roughly about £450 in the UK or roughly about $600 to $650 in the US. So this is the sort of pricing that we're going to expect. It's not fully confirmed as yet. It's definitely going to be cheaper compared to the base model of the iPhone 6 Plus, because a Nexus devices, they usually do try to aim for that low price point. It's definitely not going to be as low as the Nexus 5 because you're getting so many more specs and features here compared to the Nexus 5 last year. So there we have it, the Nexus 6 versus the iPhone 6 Plus, both offering some great specs and features, and no doubt both of them are going to be hugely popular. The iPhone 6 Plus has already been very popular, and the Nexus 6 is definitely going to be very popular as well. Which do you think is better, and which one will you be going for? Do drop me a comment below and let me know your thoughts. I've got the iPhone 6 Plus in hand. As soon as I've got the Nexus 6 in hand, we're going to be doing some hands-on comparisons in terms of the speed, camera, as well as a full in-depth comparison. So if you do want to see that first, make sure you have subscribed to the channel. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, please do hit that thumbs up button for me. It really does help me out. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on Super Saf TV, and I'll see you next time. If you want to see more regular videos like this one, then be sure to hit the subscribe button, which will be below. If you're on a mobile device, it may be somewhere else. If you want to see my previous related video, then hit the link right here. If you want to stay in touch over Facebook, Twitter and Google+, then all of the addresses will be there somewhere, as well as direct links in the description below. Okay, if you're still watching, then that means you've not done one of those things, so, you know. Yeah. Anyway, I'm just gonna go downstairs. See. Okay. There isn't really a downstairs. Anyway, so yeah.